Hello and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Daily Triple, your no shit gaming news video. That's 3 news stories in one video with zero faff. Last night Ubisoft ran its latest UbiForward livestream event and unveiled several new games as well as some we already know about. But in addition to all these titles Ubisoft wants you to be excited about, CEO Yves Guillemot had something to say about the recent controversy surrounding the company. And when I say that he had something to say, what I really mean is that he gave a rote PR response to the situation completely detached from the UbiForward stream. The reason for omitting this statement from the full stream was apparently because of time constraints. But of course the stream still managed to have over an hour's worth of stuff before the show actually started properly, so clearly you didn't have 4 minutes extra. Any mention of Guillemot's statement in the news will be buried by all the game announcements anyway, so the whole thing is just being brushed under the carpet, which is absolutely no surprise. Many of these controversies surfaced publicly a few weeks ago, around the time of the last UbiForward event funnily enough, and at the time claimed that the stream was pre-recorded and couldn't be altered to discuss the situation. Now, whether or not the accusations are true is one thing, but the sheer volume of them at least presents the question to the senior executives at Ubisoft, and clearly Yves Guillemot knew about the claims long before this summer. In my opinion, it wasn't essential that the situation even be addressed again, because Ubisoft has already removed a lot of the accused from their respective positions, but this message from the CEO is so half-assed as he pretends to be naive. Although, I did find it absolutely hilarious when they dedicated a section of the stream to advertising working for the company. Yeah, I'm sure you're getting applications by the shed load after all the crap that's been flung your way. Actually, they probably still are because they're such a huge company, so they will have no problem after any of this. Anyway, I'm going to make like Ubisoft and brush all that shit off because you just want to hear about the games. Maybe this has just been a long Friday, but even those have left me feeling disappointed. The upcoming open world RPG Gods and Monsters has reappeared under a new, far worse name, Immortals Fenyx Rising. You know it's cool and hip because Phoenix is spelt wrong. The game looks like a cross between Breath of the Wild and Assassin's Creed Odyssey as you take on various creatures and monsters from Greek mythology. If you've been following my taste, you'll know that any time I see damage numbers in a game, I'm immediately turned off, and these damage numbers are huge. But the combat did look quite varied with ground and air combat, which combines melee and ranged attacks with special abilities. There was also Riders Republic, which looks like if those two twins from Far Cry New Dawn got their own sports franchise. The game is an open world extreme sports MMO featuring activities like BMXing, snowboarding, and hang gliding. Honestly though, this game doesn't actually look all that bad based on this trailer and seems to be picking up where Steep left off. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the Complete Edition, breathes new life into the game after its sudden delisting from digital storefronts. The Complete Edition compiles the original game with the Knives Chow and Wallace Wells DLCs. Scott Pilgrim's creator, Brian Lee O'Malley, has been vocal about getting the game back out to people, but recently suggested that if it does come back, he won't be involved. Despite that, based on his response to the announcement, he is in full support of the project and thanks fans for their consistent demands to bring the game back. And what should have been one of the biggest announcements at the event was Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake, but the response to it has been less than stellar. After sitting on the franchise for years with no proper game since Forgotten Sands in 2010, the series is back, but certainly not with a bang. At the time of writing, the trailer sits at 4.6 thousand dislikes to just 2.8 thousand likes. It seems like the game is trying to go for stylized visuals, but there's no getting around the fact that it just looks plain bad, and as is Ubisoft tradition, shows zero gameplay. And in addition to that, if you pre-order, you'll get the original outfit, original weapon set, and classic filter, so they're stripping out even more nostalgia and selling it back to you on top of the asking price. Prince of Persia has never been a part of my life, so this game means nothing to me, but this really looks like one of the worst remakes I've seen in a while. Elsewhere in the stream, there were details on already announced games like Watch Dogs Legion, which now has the original game's protagonist making his return and still doesn't look as good as that very first trailer, and an animated short introducing Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell into Rainbow Six Siege. But still no Splinter Cell game. Altogether, this was a very, very lackluster stream in my opinion, and I didn't even have very high expectations going in. That said, watching CEOs squirm their way through PR statements is always a joy, but that wasn't even in the stream, so I can't really count that as my favourite part. Did you have a favourite reveal in UbiForward, or are you just as apathetic as I am? And next up, if you're anything like me and grew up through the 90s and 2000s, then you would have lived and breathed Bionicle. These buildable robots were a huge part of my childhood, and I always tried to get at least one from each generation. For the past 6 years, one small team of fans have been developing Bionicle Quest for Matanui. This game is a free-to-play open-world RPG set within the first generation of Bionicle with the original 6 characters. For a fan project, the game looks very impressive, especially the combat, and could even pass for an officially licensed title. Fan games like this are often met with various roadblocks by the IP owners, as these companies can be very precious with their brands. Nintendo is infamous for clamping down hard on fan projects, but LEGO seems to be much more accommodating of the Bionicle game. LEGO reached out to the lead developer, known as Craney, after the trailer was released back in April. The project hasn't been immediately shut down, which is already a hell of a good start. But more than that, Craney met with LEGO representatives to discuss the legal implications of releasing the game, such as not being able to charge money for it. LEGO seems to have given the go-ahead to Craney's team to continue to develop the game. In an interview, Craney said, "I can say that I am confident that I can complete the game according to my vision that I've always had for it. Nothing has really changed in that regard. The original creators of Bionicle obviously put a lot of effort into creating a unique world and a thoughtful narrative, and with this project I aim to preserve the integrity of what they built as best I could." Whether you're like me and grew up on Bionicle or not, it's amazing to see a fan project like this be approved by the IP holders, while the likes of Nintendo and Disney clamp their iron fists down on anything to do with their IPs. LEGO may have forgotten about Bionicle, but the internet absolutely hasn't, and the franchise still has a devout fanbase. The debut trailer has 249,000 views, and the official channel has 22.3 thousand subscribers, so people are clearly interested in the game. There is no release date for the game yet, and to be honest, I wouldn't expect it for a while, but it's definitely worth keeping an eye on if you want to relive your childhood. And finally, the Nintendo Switch is undeniably one of the most successful consoles of all time, and the system has now officially sold 15 million units in Japan, according to Famitsu. As of the end of June this year, the console has shifted over 60 million units worldwide. That makes it the 12th best-selling video game platform ever, and the 7th best-selling console. Currently, the PS2 is at the top with over 155 million units, while the next highest console is the PS4 at 110 million. Meanwhile, the Xbox One is down at just 50 million units. Famitsu also reported that Animal Crossing has sold over 5.62 million copies in Japan and sold 1.88 million in its first 3 days. By the end of June, the game had sold over 22.4 million copies globally and is still regularly in the weekly charts. Despite all this success with the Nintendo Switch, there is still no news on whether an upgraded version of the console is coming anytime soon, but Nintendo has told developers to get their games 4K ready, so perhaps the Switch Pro is more than just a pipe dream. And that's it for today. If you enjoyed this no shit format, go ahead and give the video a like to give it a boost, hit subscribe and the bell if you want to stay up to date on all future installments, toss a coin to your YouTuber over at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. That's all for today. I've been Henry Cooper. Bye for now.